Life is great, isn't it? Just what a world we live in. It's practically perfect. You know, aside from all the war, segregation, poverty, discrimination, crime, highly corrupt political climate, and Space Jam 2 existing. But aside from all that, it's fine. It just really makes you feel like you want to be alive, you know? Just nothing could hinder this feeling right now, and everything is ruined.
Scooby Doo. You all know the show and you all... well, maybe you don't love it, or like it, I guess, or you're just indifferent to it like I am. The show about 4 teenagers and a dog solving mysteries has for some reason endured for so many years. Now, I think the show's fine, there's a fair amount to appreciate in it. The art style of the show's first incarnation is very nice, and the characters, while very one-dimensional, are at least memorable, and there is just this strange charm to it. But as to how it has lasted for so long with so many different versions, I really couldn't tell you. Is it that charm? Is it nostalgia? Perhaps, because to be honest with you, when you really think about it, the show really isn't anything that special or unique. Every episode follows the same plot beats, with them finding a location, seeing a monster, meeting the only other person at that location, bunch of filler, a chase, and then big shock, turns out it's the only other person who was there. Rinse and repeat. As well as really poor attempts at humor, that really awkwardly placed laugh track, sometimes really lifeless and frankly lazy animation, this cunt. I don't hate it by any means, but it's just odd seeing how something like this has managed to create a winning formula that has been ongoing for nearly 50 years now. Through many iterations of the show, with a lot of them being kind of reflective of the cartoon trends at the time, many people have a version of Scooby Doo they remember growing up with. For me, it was a period during the late 90s and early 2000s where Scooby Doo wasn't really going forward on TV, but rather in the cursed world of direct-to-DVD films. But to its credit, some of these I remember actually being quite decent and well animated. Now, the one I remember watching the most was Scooby Doo and the Cyber Chase. In this, Mystery Inc. visit a friend who created a game about them, but a phantom virus, yes, I'm actually serious, teleports them into the game and they have to escape. I watched this a ton as a kid, and I do not know why, because as we all know, kids are stupid, and as a kid, I was stupid because this film sucks. This is what you'd expect this kind of film to be. Terribly written, cringy as anything, a terrible villain, it's just awful. And if you really want to have a bit more of an in-depth look at why, I'd recommend this video by Icarus. Anyway, that should be the end of it, right? Another crap direct-to-DVD film, nothing new. But no, for reasons that I cannot begin to comprehend, none other than THQ thought that a video game was a necessary course of action. One based on a direct-to-DVD film. Fuck my life. And so we got Scooby Doo and the Cyber Chase on PlayStation. I'm sorry, but what even was the thought process here? Hey, you know that games based on films tend to be dreadful? Yeah. Well, you know how direct-to-DVD films are like films, but worse? Yeah. Well, how about a game based on a direct-to-DVD film? I smell another multi-million-dollar idea. I guess there is at least some basis to work off here. The film is about Mystery Inc. being teleported into a video game, so there's at least some relevant foundation. I mean, there must have been something the game did right, because apparently people are quite nostalgic over this game. It even got a re-release in North America under the green Greatest Hits banner. How depressing is that? I remember playing the game as a child, and I have a tiny bit of nostalgia for it, but even back then I really wasn't into this game. Even stupid young kid me had the sense to recognize how bland and uninspired it was. From the get-go, you are greeted by nothing but mortified faces. Shaggy and Scooby knows what lies ahead, and I don't blame them. Actually, you know what? I think showing you snippets of the intro cutscene should set the tone for the game going forward.
Wow, Scooby! Like, isn't this groovy? We're the stars of our very own video game.
Yeah, groovy. I've spread my evil virus all over this game. You'll never get past the monsters I've unleashed.
Yikes! Monsters!
Hey guys, are you alright?
You look like you've seen a ghost.
Now I'll just give you a few seconds to answer what's wrong with this cutscene, okay? Everything. Good God, but I'm sorry, this is almost funny in how bad it is. The characters' movements are really weird, the facial animations are buggered, something is seriously wrong with Scooby's jaw. There's like a 3 to 5 second pause between each character's line and the dialogue does not sync with the lip movement whatsoever. It's just so painful and awkward to watch. The basic setup that this shit show was trying to convey is that they are in the game that has been infected by the Phantom virus and now we must stop him. So while Fred and Daphne pop off for a cheeky fuck, Scooby and Shaggy become the bitch as per usual and have to go through the game to find the virus. God, I can't be asked to play this game. Can I just stay here? I don't know what's going on, but I'm quite content with it. Our first world is Japan and we begin as Scooby. Okay, what was that, like 2 seconds? Yeah, this is the tutorial stage, so we are being stopped every few seconds to have everything spelt out for us. So the game is a linear point A to point B platformer, essentially a poor man's Crash Bandicoot, and that's being kind. You go from one end of the level to another with platforming challenges, boxes to break, enemies to fight, collecting Scooby snacks, collecting 100 of which will give you an extra life. It's not entirely subtle about its inspirations. Unfortunately, despite its best efforts in copying, this game has none of the good level design or smooth flow of the Crash series. The controls really aren't good. It feels like I'm trying to platform with a fucking bulldozer. Your movement is so sluggish with you losing momentum instantly and having to build it up slowly to clear large gaps. I think the best way to describe it is that it constantly feels like there's some force pulling you in the opposite direction you're going, and it really doesn't help at times when the camera does not give you good enough depth perception. And trying to jump really slowly and inaccurately, sometimes with little momentum with this, will result in you failing to clear gaps or overshooting them a lot of the time. The levels also have plenty of boxes scattered around, which we must break with our rock-solid arse cheeks to give us burgers to regain health, extra lives, and pies, which I shit you not are the ammunition for attacking enemies. While you can use your cheeks of steel to kill most enemies, it's better to use the ranged attack. You have this small daisy to aim the pie while Scooby charges his shot, making it look like he's perpetually breaking his elbow. Although to be fair, the pies may as well not even be here since the enemies are a complete joke. They are for the most part docile until you come near them enough to provoke an attack. Oh shit! However, the majority have fairly delayed attacks or move really slowly, meaning you can just walk past most of them, so they're about as effective as a spoon to the chest. The only ones that prove any sort of threat are those that either have ranged attacks or move quickly. Even then, every single enemy dies with just one pie hit, so as long as you have a pie for those ones, you'll be absolutely fine. Hell, most enemies are gone just as quickly as they're introduced. Who the hell is this guy? What does he do? What's his backstory? I don't care, fuck him. And with the enemies being such a pushover, it makes the game quite easy for the most part, with difficulty only coming from awkward platforming sections causing me to die due to the controls. The level design is also mostly barren, with 1 or 2 obstacles and a few boxes down each corridor. Occasionally there's moments that splice things up slightly, but they're often extremely brief and don't happen too often. All of these things together make it just such a slog to get through, and it's made worse by the fact that these levels are too long for what they are, making it so boring to simply play and get through it all. It's not terrible by any means, it's just bland and uninspired, like bread. Yeah, it works I guess, but it's unappealing and disappointing, which is coincidentally how my parents describe me. So anyway, we have to trudge our way through the end of each level to reach a box of Scooby snacks, only to be teleported back to the warp room. Why? What was the point in any of that? How did that advance our course any further? The second level is more of the same except in an indoor setting. More bland levels, crap enemies, and that general feeling of wanting to die inside.
Those spears will hurt you, so you need to be extra careful.
Yeah, I kinda figured that, Fred, but thanks anyway. The third level of each world is a boss fight, and they're almost as much as a pushover as the regular enemies. Not only because their attacks are easily avoidable, but the game literally points out to you when the boss is vulnerable, like, "Shoot him now! Shoot him now!" As if it wasn't obvious enough since they just stand there like a bloody melon. The only thing making these boss fights somewhat challenging is the sluggish movement, sometimes hindering you from dodging certain attacks, which is quite cheap. Anyway, Japan is done. Only 6 more worlds of this, and next up is Ancient Roman. Whoa, wait, we're playing as Shaggy this time. Oh, at last, I can't wait to harness such power. Jesus Christ, this is pointless. Shaggy controls no differently from Scooby. He's literally just a skin swap with different animations. I mean, I have no issues with that, but why force you into playing as a character if they play no differently? At least be like the Insane trilogy. Oh, there's Crash again. Where you could at least choose between the characters even though they controlled the same. Oh God, this level can bite me. There's a good reason I use gameplay from here to describe the depth perception and jumping. It sucks, and I had many crappy deaths on this level because of this. Well, at least it gave me a chance to glance over the very, standard presentation? It's not bad, the graphics look fine for the time and the character animations are spot on, but everything else is so painfully generic. Every corridor in the level looks the same with barely any detail, only pouring more bland salt into an already boring wound. Even when they do put in some slight detail, it's hardly anything to write home about. I mean, it says a lot when the original Crash Bandicoot, a game that came out 5 years prior and on the same console, looked so much more organic and full of life. The music as well, while not bad at all, again it just feels really generic and forgettable. Andy Murray has more charisma than this game, for God's sake. I mean, look at this. Just look at this copy and paste bollocks throughout the entire level as if they just put in the minimum amount of effort.
You'll need to go inside and keep looking for the phantom virus.
I have a better idea, Velma.
The boss of Rome is a lion along with these spear-throwing gladiators, and again, it would be fine if not for the slow-ass controls making it such a chore to avoid his attacks, but it's not too bad. But get this, after the boss is defeated, it gives you one last hearty up yours with a final spear ambush. Meaning that had I not known that was coming and not avoided that, I would have died since I had 1 health left. What a load of bullshit. And next up, we have the Arctic Circle, and sorry, I'm just savouring in the rich level of detail here. Fuck me, come back Rome, all is forgiven. I know it's kind of hard to make the Antarctic look detailed, but there are so many games that have done snow-based levels alright. This is just bloody lazy. Oh, look at the cute little baby seal, so adorable. Yay! Level 2, and oh my god, it's actually something different and new, a vehicle section, praise be! Shame it's a big load of wank. Why would you make the vehicle controls so heavy as well? The force keeps moving you to one side, either sending you flying off to God knows where, or making it extremely annoying to have to keep it steady in the middle. The boss of this area is the phantom virus riding a polar bear, and the stupid thing is that the ice physics actually pose more of a threat than he does. Next, we're back as Scooby in the prehistoric jungle, probably the worst and most boring world for me in the game. Look, even bloody dinosaurs are not a match for a goddamn pie.
I'm picking up signs of danger in that marshy water, Scooby.
Oh yeah, and by the way, I'm still being contacted by the other members of the gang giving me tutorials halfway through the game. This happens every time there is a new enemy, new area, or some type of slightly different platforming challenge, even up until the very last world. The game doesn't even trust you to use basic initiative and hold your hand throughout the entire thing. It's so dumb. Like in the Arctic world, for example.
Whoa, Shaggy! Be careful! Those icy surfaces can be slippery.
No shit, Fred. As if the game wasn't as easy and boring enough as it is.
Those dinosaurs look a little too big for your pie attack, Scooby. Just move around them real carefully so they don't attack.
Oh, well, okay, then I'll just take it nice and careful here. Nice and steady. Oh, okay, yeah, well, that was a lie, weren't it, Daphne, you bitch? The boss of this world is a T-Rex, and I'll tell you, it's a very hard fight, you know. It's extremely tough, hard as nails. Oh, tough, I swear, guys. Really hard boss. Oh, pie in the face, really hard. Harder than my dick. Now we're back as Shaggy in the next world, the big city, with yet another shambolic excuse for gameplay variety. But the worst of it is yet to come as we face our most horrifying enemy yet. Edgy teenagers. Oh yeah, and the phantom virus kind of shows up briefly to have a stab at killing us, only to give up and peace out. The boss here is against this robot while you have to stand on the conveyor belt with bombs dropping down. It's still stupidly easy, but probably the most engaging boss since you have to hit him while on a moving platform and try to avoid things, but by this game standards, still not too much. The penultimate world is Egypt, and Jesus Christ, they are not even trying anymore. And again, more annoying platforming due to the slow momentum and poor camera.
Almost done, Scoob! just a little bit further.
Cheers, Shaggy, that's really helpful. Well worth interrupting my game for. Not to give me new info on an enemy or even a new platforming challenge, just to say, yeah, you're almost done. Which in itself is a crock of shit, as this dragged on for ages after you said that. Speaking of tedious things that take too long, this boss is dreadful! It's the Phantom Virus again sitting on a camel, but you're not really fighting him, you're just spending ages knocking these mummies off the edge of the arena. But since you have to keep hitting them constantly, you keep using up pies and having to wait for more to spawn up until the shield just goes down. Throw a pie at him and that's it, bing bang bosh. And it just goes on and on and on, and it's so dull, and the Phantom Virus doesn't even do anything. Why? Thank Christ we're on the final stretch with the amusement park, and big shock, it was actually decent. It has a bit more interesting level design with more reasonably difficult platforming, slightly more aggressive and harder to avoid enemies, and more varied colour and detail in the environment. It's nothing spectacular, but compared to the rest of the game, it may as well be gold. It's just a shame that the best elements do not come until the very end of the game. I mean, okay, the levels are still too long and the gang are still giving us pointless information.
That looks like a haunted house. Go inside and check it out, Scoob.
You just want me to die, don't you, Fred?
Oh, I love roses, but the ones you'll find in this hedge maze won't be friendly, Scooby.
What's she on about roses that ain't friendly, stupid Daphne? What the fuck is that? After all of this, we have our final boss against the Phantom Virus, and this is perhaps one of the worst bosses ever in any game I've played. The difficulty spike suddenly soars as this boss is so shit in how broken and unfair it is. The Phantom Virus moves way too fast to the point where it's nearly impossible for you to avoid some of his attacks. There is only a brief fraction of a second for you to react if you want to have any chance of avoiding this. The first two phases you can eventually get a pattern down due to a lot of trial and error, but the final phase, what the hell am I supposed to do here? This is just taking the piss. He just comes up to you and hurts you without fail every time, completely draining your health. You'll be lucky to end this fight with anything more than one hit point left. Well, somehow I managed to beat him. Scooby lures him back to the warp room, he taunts us a bit more, then Fred and Daphne show up and actually do something useful.
Are you guys okay?
Like, where did he go? Yeah, where did he go?
The wireless communication system.
We looked all over the place for a trap, but we couldn't find anything that would work.
And then I remembered that this system has virus protection software on it.
I always knew that software would come in handy one day.
Are you fucking kidding me? Well, at least it's over. That is Scooby Doo and the Cyber Chase on PS1, and well, it's exactly what you'd expect from a game based on a direct-to-DVD film. Now, it's not absolutely horrible at all, but it's just so boring and generic, and I know I've said those words several times in this video, but that's just how it feels to play this game. I suppose the better term I'm looking for here is stock. It follows the basic textbook example of how a game like this is made, doing the bare minimum with such little creativity and thought put into it, resulting in such a dull, uninspired and by-the-numbers game that, while at the very least playable, really doesn't do much beyond that, leaving no impact whatsoever.
It's really not terrible or one of the worst games of all time, far from it. It's just such a forgettable snooze fest. Thankfully, Scooby Doo games going forward tended to be a lot better, at least for the immediate future, with Scooby Doo Night of 100 Fights and Scooby Doo Mystery Mayhem being some of the best, using the show's simplicity and quirky charm to create something that actually felt a lot more truer to its source material. Well, regardless, it's always reassuring to know that no matter how nice or exciting life feels, I'll always have this to remind me how painfully unfulfilling it really is. Thanks very much for watching, everyone. Like and subscribe if you feel like it, and I'll see you in the next video.